Today I am reviewing the Santa Cruz Chameleon R+. Today we're at beautiful Moab, Utah, riding the Captain Ahab trail. We'll take High Masa up and lower Captain Ahab down for a quick loop. I'm 5'6", 175 pounds. This is a size small. I've got about 75 miles on this bike so far, and I can't wait to see how it performs on a super rugged trail like Captain Ahab. Those of you who've been watching this channel for a while know that I love plus bikes, and I love good hardtails, and I love sporty geometry. I recently sold my Bronson. It was top of the line, everything, carbon wheels, top line everything, like an $8,000 bike. And I sold it, and now I'm trying to decide, can I have just as much fun on a $2,300 hardtail? And today we took it to Captain Ahab so that we could see how it does in the worst place for a hardtail, which is a bumpy, technical, steep, gnarly trail. And it's a great place to find the limits of the Santa Cruz Chameleon. That's getting washed away more every year. How you doing? You got what you need?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, cool. Yep, one more behind me. Got my dog Fender with me. He loves this trail. So do I. So everyone should take all reviews with a grain of salt and ride the bike yourself before making a determination. But reviews are a great way to learn a little bit about something and what other people think. I've benefited a lot from reviews. And a little bit about me so you can put my review in context. I come from a BMX background. Raced BMX as a kid. Raced some cross-country mountain biking. Raced a little bit of downhill. And now I just ride for fun. I don't use Strava. I don't care how fast up or down I am. I just like riding with people, having a good time, and working on bike control. Yesterday I was able to ride the Slickrock trail on this bike, and it was the perfect bike for that trail. Had an absolute blast. It's the most fun I'd ever had riding that trail. Climbed everything like a champ. Love this trail. Ridden it quite a few times. Woo! Lost the front end in there. I will say, for this type of trail already, personally, I'd rather have the head angle a full degree slacker. It's 67.5, which is great for most riding, but on really steep stuff, I do wish it were a tiny bit slacker. But then when I got to the skate park or the bike packing trip, I'd want it to be back to this. These WTB Ranger tires made me a little nervous at first because they feel pretty lightweight and thin. They weigh less than my 2.5s I normally run. But so far they haven't had any issues. Fingers crossed I don't slice them open on this trail, but that's kind of part of the test. But because they're so light, this bike gets moving and accelerates quite well. I really hate the mounting of these level T brakes. They're like the old school Hayes from the 90s, because that just hangs down right in the way, and there's only one or two angles I can mount this dropper post to keep it from getting hung up on that. And yeah, I much prefer the single mount from like the Guide RSCs or the Code RSCs. Those are my favorite brakes, but definitely minus points for that. That's a bummer. But I love the dropper. This bike has a 30-tooth front chainring, which I like because I bought this for bike packing, and that's going to come in handy. It's got SRAM 1x11, which I actually really like. I don't need Eagle, especially with a 30-tooth front, and I think they spec this really well. Even though it's the NX shifter, shifts great. Let's try this weird little side hill. Oh yeah, that's great. Love these big wide tires. This is where hardtails kind of struggle, when it's cantaloupe-sized rocks that just want to kill your momentum. You can't smash into them like you can with a full suspension, because they just stop you dead in your tracks. So you definitely have to be a little more careful, pick your line a little more. Still plenty of fun though. Haven't had any pedal strikes yet, but the bottom bracket is quite low, which I love. And once you learn to time your pedaling, you really don't get many pedal strikes ever. So I'll take a lower bottom bracket where I have to time my pedal strokes better than a high bottom bracket any day. The lower bottom bracket corners a lot better. Yeah, this kind of rocky stuff is where it wants to get hung up a little. And half ratchet pedaling is awful on this hub. There's so much play in between when it engages and when it doesn't, that on a hardtail you really need that fast engagement, and this hub does not offer that. Most beginners will be fine. Man, this thing just sticks. This is one of my favorite climbs. I love climbing this trail. What a beautiful place. When you stand up and sprint, this bike just hooks up and goes. And it's amazing too, like when I was a kid, I used to have an aluminum hardtail and it beat me up. It was too stiff. Granted, that was back before 3.0 tires and tubeless and low tire pressures, but this frame is not stiff at all. Rides a lot like a steel frame to me. Let's see if we can find some flow here. So easy to put this bike where you want it. It turns on a dime. So good to pump and bunny hop. So fun. Loves to sprint. I initially bought this bike as my second bike for backup duties and for bike packing. But I've had so much fun on it. I'm in no hurry to get a full suspension. I love this bike. On kind of lumpy, bumpy climbs like this, you do feel it transfer through the seat compared to a full suspension, which is true of any hardtail. Here's a tricky slab on the right. About a 2.5 foot wall. Yeah. This bike climbs so well. I love what a simple machine it is too. Bikes just keep getting more and more complicated with electronic shifting, electronic shocks coming out. I just love a simple machine. Not to say technology doesn't have its place, but there's something beautiful about a simple bike that just is purely mechanical, has a derailleur, brakes, and dropper, and it's just a blast to ride. I think without these plus tires, I'd probably be hating life. But they're killing it right now. Find it easier to climb than on my Bronson, which is my favorite climbing bike before this. We're gonna cheat and cut this ride short and just ride the lower part of Ahab. Alright, let's see how this bike does on a chunky trail with lots of black diamond features. This trail's super fun on a full suspension. Woo, it's bumpy. But it also pumps really well. Man, this bike manuals well. You definitely have to pick your lines better. I'm still have a big grin on my face. Super easy to pick up and bunny hop. I feel that steep head angle when I'm coming down on a really sharp drop to flat. And I wish it were a little more slack for this kind of riding. Secret to riding this bike is just be in the air as much as possible. 120 mil of travel is not a lot when you're talking full suspension bikes. So you'd think on a hardtail it'll feel like even less, but this fork does okay. Not my favorite fork on the planet, but I don't have any major complaints. Other than it's noisy, like most of Fox suspension products. It's really interesting when you're bike shopping. I used to have a Nomad V3, and that bike was amazing. I could ride double black diamonds, and they felt as easy as blue squares. It just erased the trail. It was so smooth, and it climbed well. I thought it was the perfect bike. Descended so well, and climbed super well. But it kind of erased the trail. I mean, that's what it's meant to do, but then you get on a trail that was like intermediate and it'd just be boring because that Nomad just wanted chunk all the time. This bike's fun. This trail's a little more challenging on a hardtail, but not much on this one. Easy to bunny hop across cracks. Trying to protect my rear wheel. Pumps so well. Listen to that noisy shock. Still, this bike can cruise. Woo! A little bumpier, but man, I'm still having so much fun. Oh, what a bike. Woo! That's steep. Nate Hills makes it look so easy. So easy to lift that front wheel. Yeah, it's a wild ride on a hardtail. Let's see, where's the line here? It's right there. If ever I'd bottom out the rear wheel on a rock, it's here. Woo! Yeah, nice job, Chameleon. That was a rough ride. This is like the least ideal spot for a hardtail, but that's why I picked this trail, to just see where its limit is. Still super fun. I did not bottom out on the rim on that drop back there. Yay. That's where the head angle's scary, when you're coming down on a really steep drop there. Oh, I felt the rim there. Woo, it's bumpy. Woo, I got up it, yeah. It's bumpy, but still so fun. That section would be more fun on a full suspension, but not much. That was fun. If I rode this kind of trail exclusively, I'd put a 140 fork on it. That'd get my head angle where I want it, give me a little more traction. But I didn't really buy this bike for riding this kind of trail, so I'm going to keep it as is, because it can still ride it just fine like this. Yeah. Crazy how smooth the GoPro makes this look. Ooh, whacked the rim hard on that. Probably pinch flatted, let's see. Man, this bike climbs so well. I should have pinch flatted that. Hit so hard. I think I'd want a cush core on this. Then I could get away with a little softer rear end. There's just so many sharp rocks here that it just takes one or two to bottom out on your rim. But these tires passed the test. They're still holding there. Whoa, that was a little offline. Nice, they just repainted this. These are so big in real life. Yeah. It's a very active riding experience, but that's what I love. I love bikes that reward good technique, good line choice, an active, charging, popping off stuff style. This trail's so well marked right now. Such a fun bike. Ooh, I'm hitting that rim a lot. I think I've lost some air. Yeah, I've lost a lot of air. This is a good place to get off and pump up the tire. Huh, it's okay, still holding. Let's keep going, I like a softer ride. This is the spot where I walk, because it wouldn't take much to high side and fall down that cliff. And more danger does not make a bike ride more fun for me. Alright, enough of my philosophies. Let's talk about this bike. Climbing for a hardtail, 10 out of 10. For a normal bike, including the best full suspensions I've ridden climbing, 9 out of 10. Such a good climber, but in the chunk, when you need to keep your momentum, like any hardtail, it gets hung up just a little. But man, it does so well. This sizing is spot on for me. I love that the reach isn't massive. Able to move around on it, put it right where I want to, hop it up stuff. And that short rear end, the benefits cannot be exaggerated. They are so good. It climbs great, it sprints great, it manuals great, it pedals great, it wheelies great. Turns so well because of that short rear end. Descending, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 on the Black Diamond stuff. On smooth, rolly, twisty single track, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. But on this sort of trail, it'd really benefit from a bigger fork and a slacker head angle, which you could easily do. What a riot though, man. Cornering so good. A lot of people like to hate on the plus tires. Man, I'm a fan. It's amazing. You raise the seat, and this bike, it just climbs so well. Doesn't feel like super aggressive hardtail, but you drop that seat, and it totally changes its character. Oh crap. Woo! Didn't drop my seat in time. That lever is a pain. Well, the lever's fine. Those brake levers are my least favorite part of this bike. Whew. We survived. Yeah, what a bike. All right, summary. I love this bike, if you can't tell. A short chainstay for a short rider makes a world of a difference. And since there's no rear suspension in the way, they can get that super short at 415 millimeters For a little guy like me, it feels like riding a 26-inch bike again, but it's got the bigger tires, so it does roll a little bit faster. This bike got overwhelmed on this trail a few times, but I never crashed. I was able to keep it in control. It was still super fun, but it was an aerobic ride when it got bumpy. My hands are tired, my feet are tired, but I had fun, and that's what it's all about. As far as hardtails go, I think this is hands down my favorite I've ever ridden. It is the most versatile hardtail because those dropouts slide. You can run all sorts of wheels, run at single speed. What a fun bike. So once again, to recap, climbing for a hardtail, 10 out of 10. Climbing compared to all bikes on the market, 9 out of 10. Descending for a hardtail, 9 out of 10. If it had a slacker front head angle with a bigger fork, like if you just threw a 140 on this, it'd be a 10 out of 10. For downhills, overall, like including full suspension, I'm going to give it like a 7 out of 10. I'd rather take it downhill than a lot of full suspensions, but there are probably 15 full suspension models right now I'd much rather have on this trail than this on the downhills. Just smoother, more forgiving, but considering it's a hardtail, it's a great downhiller. And fun factor, 11 out of 10. I know I'm cheating, but this bike just makes you grin the entire time. It manuals so well, it wheelies so well, it bunny hops so well, it slashes corners. It is just maximum fun all the time, and that's why I ride mountain biking, and that's why I love this bike. Man, you drop the seat on this, it's like a dirt jumper. You raise it, it's like the best hardtail trail bike you've ever ridden. Truly is a chameleon that changes to match its surroundings. So yeah, if I were building this bike to ride this trail, I'd buy a wide cush core as soon as they come out with them for plus tires. Throw it in the rear, run a little lower pressure, throw a 140 pike or a 140 millimeter ribbon on the front, and I'd just have a blast. Other hardtails you should look at, if you're interested in ones that ride like this but descend even faster, but will give a little up on the climbing, are the Commensal Meta AM hardtail. You should check out the Norco Torrent, which has almost identical geometry to this with just a slightly longer rear end chainstay. Let's see, which other ones should you look at? Chromag has some killer ones that are super aggressive. If you want more of a bike packing bike with more cross-country geometry that still has short chainstays, the Salsa Timberjack is a super cheap bike. Head angles steeper than this at 68.5. That bike would not be nearly as fun on this trail. But if you're mainly riding flat stuff or putting in the miles or bike packing, that's a killer value for the money. With Santa Cruz, you pay a premium for the name. $750 for an aluminum hardtail frame seems like a lot for me. But no one else has one with geometry this good, and I'm willing to pay it. Such a great bike. I highly recommend this bike for new riders or for experienced riders who either don't want to get a full suspension or can't afford to. Buying a good hardtail is better than buying the cheapest full suspension you can find. Okay, maybe one. Man, this wheelies so well. Love this bike. Woohoo!